Hello there, I'm Mystic. Welcome to my new podcast where I have a new conversation with a guest every single day. And they all have some pretty passionate things to say about the state of the world. So join us today, subscribe, like, and share wherever you listen to us, and tell us your opinions. We may have you on the show. Oh, and remember, always have fun. Well, hello, listeners. Thank you so much for joining us today. I am Mystic, and this is my podcast. Today, I'm excited to present a very special person. Her name is Janet, and she is a meditation instructor for a Buddhist center called Shambhala International. Welcome, Janet.
Thank you very much.
I'm so glad that you're here today. So we were speaking a little bit, and I was sharing how it's a very intense time for everyone right now around the globe. And I thought, what a great idea to have you on the show, and, just have a conversation and then guide us through some meditation at this time.
Okay. Happy to do that.
Thank you. Thank you. So how are you feeling first off?
Right now I'm feeling thankful to have gotten through the maze of joining this podcast and calming down from that. But in general, being sheltered, I'm feeling good. I kind of enjoy it, to be honest with you. But I'm very fortunate in that I don't have to, I'm retired. I don't have to go out to work. So I'm in a quite comfortable situation.
Great. And as I understand it, you also are there with your husband. So that's fabulous.
I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I had the pleasure of meeting you. I'd say about 7, 8 years now, back at Shambhala, downtown Chicago, and you happen to be my meditation
Right.
instructor.
Yes, I was for a while there.
Yeah, so as I understand it,
Yeah.
I know we both know that Shambhala is going through some changes, but it's still a very important Buddhist center. And, I'm curious to know if you know what Shambhala's take on what's happening around the world today would be or is.
Yeah, I don't know. That's an interesting question, but I have not been going for a while, and I haven't really kept up with that email wise, so I can't answer your question.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. So, based on your experience, how do you feel about what we're going through right now?
Well, lots of different feelings, of course. I'm worried about the effect of this. I'm very upset about what the president is doing, is trying to do. To vote, and his trying to defund the post office and not being in favor at all of people having the opportunity to mail in vote. That's very troublesome to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's also interesting that the coronavirus is really exposing the places where we have the greatest need in our society, and where for eons people have been oppressed. And so obviously people of color, for many reasons, are getting hit hard with this. And one of the main ones is I read in the paper today, they're saying that there's healthcare deserts in the area of Chicago where most of the Black and brown people are living. But also it's complicated, and there's a lot more to that situation that's happened over the ages. And then the whole situation with nursing homes, I think it's that it's not a good way to care for our elderly, of which I am one, but also that it's just a horrible solution, and it's obviously not working with this virus spreading through nursing homes.
Right, which is troublesome and worrisome, of course, but you have to question, not, you particularly, but everyone has to question why. Why is this happening? And of course, I understand the president is trying to defund the United States Post Office. However, we don't have all the pieces of the puzzle as he does, so we don't know. We can only say our feelings and share our feelings based on the limited knowledge that we have. And from my perspective, I'm hoping and praying that, and having faith, of course, that things will somehow, some way work out. I'm not sure why this is happening, but I know for sure that somehow, some way, things will just end up working out. They somehow always do, right?
What did you say? What was the last thing you
I
said?
said they somehow always do. Things always work out.
Oh, yes. Yes. I mean, it's also a time of great opportunity because things are so clear in this time of crisis.
Can you expand on that a little bit more? What exactly do you mean by that? Or if you could share examples.
Well, just the fact that it's so clear that things are unfair, the way they're set up, probably around the world, but I'm thinking of this country, and that we've had some Democratic candidates for president who have been espousing quite radical changes that would be, I think, for the most part beneficial, but pretty far from where the reality of the situation is with Congress, etc. So perhaps this crisis will, because it's illuminating the issues, help to move us eventually in directions we need to go to make things more equitable.
Well, it seems like everything's all being deconstructed, and everything's being recreated new, but
Oh,
in a different way. So
yeah,
we
that's
have
true.
we just stepped out of the old world, and we're literally being confined to our homes, everyone around the world. And then when we finally do step out, which none of us know when that's going to be, based on what's happening right now, we're going to walk into a new world.
Yeah, we'll be like babies.
Yeah.
Hopefully, yeah, hopefully we can create something new together.
Yeah, absolutely. And for the first time ever, we're all on the same page. There's no real differentiation outside, outside of the people who are governing us and others. there really is no differentiation between culture, religion, age, color. We're all in this together, and it's
Yeah.
important.
The virus doesn't know about any of those distinctions.
Exactly. Exactly. And I'm hoping one of the things that I did was a call to action to ensure that we never forget this moment again, because this pandemic is illuminating everything, like you said, and that was just so beautifully put. But it's true. And one example that I continue to use is the example of the seed. The seed literally has to, and it can come out of whether it's a seed packet or we dry our own seeds at home, right? Because we're eating organic, we can literally dry our own seeds. So you can take a seed and put it in the ground, but when that seed is in the ground, it's in darkness, and it's a scary feeling, right? And then you water it, and then with the sun and whatnot, and so it's eating and it's recreating itself, and then boom, it turns into a flowering plant or a flower, whatever it is.
Yeah, right.
And so you said something really important. You said now is the time where there's room for opportunity. Can you expand on that again a little bit more?
Um, let's see.
Like, do you have an example?
I don't think I have a specific example. None comes to my mind right now. Just basically what I said, that the need for change is becoming very sharp, illuminated, and we're all being forced to change. So, as you pointed out, it's a situation that's very ripe for something new to sprout.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm gonna take the time to share with you one of the things that I did share um, with some individuals, because they had asked me the question. I kept saying United We Stand, and as you know, I end the show with United We Stand, which means that to become one body, to become one, and to rise and stop kneeling and stop bowing our heads, because that's what got us into this place to begin with. We must wake up. And so they asked me quite clearly, what are your answers on this? How can we create a solution? And I'm just going to share with you some of the things that came to mind and came to my heart
Okay.
during this. So the first thing I thought was, first, we must wake up and unite. We have been divided in order to be controlled. So the first thing is we
Maybe
must wake up.
maybe just yeah,
And then, uh-huh.
can I sorry to interrupt, but it just occurs to me that as you were pointing out before, the virus is no respecter of persons. It is in fact joining us all and helping us to see the reality connected. Go ahead.
Oh
Sorry.
yeah, no worries. Thank you for interjecting. Anytime, feel free. As I'm reading this, if something comes up, feel free to interrupt me and share your thoughts too. That's really
Okay.
important.
All
Yes,
right.
of course. And so number two would be being in the media. And I'm just sharing my experience at being in the media for 19 years. I know
Sure.
how media has been absolutely used against us during this pandemic. For something to be officially called a pandemic, 0.01% of the population has to be affected, and we haven't even touched that. 0.01% of 7.5 billion people, and according to the CDC, we haven't even reached that at all yet. We're unlocked. So I can literally see how the media has been used against us, and we can all see it, which is great. I'm really excited about that. Number three, everyone should absolutely read Mein Kampf to understand how propaganda has been used against us so that it never happens again. That's really, really important. So anyone that understands the media and propaganda needs to read that, because that's literally a tool. And that was, yeah, that's what Hitler used. Number 4, find out exactly what's going on by doing our due diligence and researching. It's one thing to understand and receive things from our respective peers in relation to what's happening across social media platforms. And yet it's another to take that information and see if that's real media or fake news. So it's really important right now. Were you going to say something?
No, just true. I mean, there's a lot of outrageous theories and etc. flying
Right,
around.
but it's our responsibility to take back our power and control and do our own research, because so many times people keep saying, well, prove it, or how do you know, or does this really exist? Well, what's to stop that person that took that time to write out that message to actually do the research and find out for themselves and see how they feel and get empowered by that, you know?
Yeah, you're right. That is a great way to approach this and everything.
Yeah, it's really important. That's a first step in taking our power back, right? Like we have to exercise that.
I have been trying to do that for myself as a white person. I'm 78 years old, so I got quite a bit of a whole propaganda story as I was growing up about how this country started, etc., etc., what happened as things progressed. And so I've been really making it my quest to find out the truth of it. So I've been sidetracked with some personal illness, but that's been a very interesting quest for me. My husband and I took a trip where we went all the way from Chicago up north around the state of Washington through Nevada and back across to Chicago, a road trip. And for each state we went to, I researched what actually happened to Native Americans and people of color in those states, the history of it, and opening for me. So that's my version of what you're talking about, taking responsibility for finding.
Yeah, that's really important. And of course, I commend you on taking back your power and the control of your life in that regard. But it's also important to acknowledge that that was used against everyone to as a tool for manipulation and separation. So
Oh yeah,
now pointing out
absolutely.
that you're white, you're blue, you're yellow, you're black, whatever color you are is irrelevant. And that's what I'm saying, that walking into this new world, if we can all take that responsibility and transform the illusion into truth and reality, and instead of taking those rose colored glasses or those glasses that were put on us, we have to put them down. And when we look at each other, looking at each other through to the human being and into our hearts, rather than, oh, this person is this gender, this person is this color, this person is this
Right.
religion, this is
Yeah.
how much money they have, right?
Right.
So that's,
Right.
yeah, that's
Exactly.
imperative.
Yeah.
So I commend you on taking that first step. Congratulations, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're welcome. Yeah. So in that regard, we have to be like the virus.
Yeah, that's good. taking our power back even from the virus. That's good, Janet. Awesome.
Learning from the virus.
Yeah, and
Okay.
we're in quarantine, so we're getting to look at our shadow side. That's what it feels like. Not only the shadow side for each individual on the planet, but also the shadow side for our institutions and our government, our
Yeah, true.
corporations, and all that. So, yeah, interesting. So I think I'm at, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. I think I'm at 5. So the fifth point that I made was throw everyone out of the government that is part of an evil group that has been causing this behind the scenes. And I keep saying united we stand. There's 7.5 billion people on the earth. And the great thing is that 0.0001% of the people actually have the power. 0.001% of the people actually have the power, and 0.1% or 1% have the money. And I don't know how long that money is going to last for. Do you?
Well, in a certain respect, it doesn't do any good when you come down to it. But of course, it to have money. But yeah, I don't know.
It's interesting. That's an interesting point, because it's not really the money per se, or the leaf or the stone or the gold, right? That is causing evil. It's the individual. It's truly the individual, because they get to make a choice. And if that individual makes a choice to choose to impoverish the entire globe because of their greed, that's a problem. That's what I call evil.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
problem.
that's what I call evil. Because at the end of the day, we're all in realization that money's just paper.
That oh yeah, or something.
It represents you know, our blood, sweat, and tears, of course, but it's not a true representation, is what I meant to say. Because you could have somebody who's working, 60, 70 hours a week, but perhaps they're making next to nothing.
Right, absolutely.
As opposed to the individual that's working 3 to 4 hours a week, and they're making 1% of the money, so that's a problem. So number 6, as a people, we must begin to heal each of our nations first.
And ourselves.
Right. In order to heal ourselves, we have to come in. And so we're all spread out. There's even troops that are abroad. And now, I hope. And if you didn't, when the president said we have to, close our borders, and we have to protect our nation, and we have to come back to each other and make this country great again. I mean, that is possibly what he was talking about. I don't know. I'm just throwing something out there based on rationale.
That's probably the totally best construction you could put on that.
Yeah, because like I said, we're there's lots of people making judgments against this individual that we call president, and we don't have all the pieces. We don't really know what's going on.
Yeah, I think I don't quite go with you there, but he is a human being like the rest of us, but unfortunately, I just don't think he should be in that position.
Well, the bottom line is he is in that position, and that's, our personal opinions, and I respect exactly what you're thinking, but we just don't know, and this hasn't played out. So we'll see, I guess. We have no choice at this point.
That's right. We will definitely see.
Yeah, we will definitely see.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
healing our nation first begins with healing ourselves. And when we're in quarantine, that's what we could do, whichever way that looks. And it could be mind, body, soul. If something's awry, or all three of them are awry, you can integrate all three parts of yourself and begin to heal. And then the next one after that is implement respect, virtues, the family, good neighbors, helping each other. Those things are really important because I feel that those were destroyed, not only within the United States, but also on a global scale. So if we begin to get back to the family and to our neighbors and to the neighborhood and then to the city and then to the state and then to the, to our nation and then to the world, I think that's a lot healthier than the way that we've been doing it. Do you have any
That's a
do you have
that's a
any
good
comments on that?
that's a good vision. Um, do I do I what?
Oh, yeah, no, you're giving the comments.
Do I have a comment about that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just from where I'm sitting, um, yeah, I'm feeling closer to my neighbors, even though we're quite separated through all of this. And yeah, I have wonderful neighbors. So, um, but just thinking about people in the neighborhood, seeing them out walking their dogs, etc. It feels there's a certain closeness that touches my heart, even though we're we're not just passing on the sidewalk, we're moving to be further away from each other, and sometimes saying hi. But somehow it's very moving to me, touching.
So you're beginning to notice the little things.
Yeah, I guess so. It's really kind of a colossal slowing down.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's barely anyone on the streets. We could exercise. I think it's something like 20, 30 minutes a day at this moment. Um, it's interesting because people have a misconception in regards to some of the things that we're facing as a nation. And on one of my social media platforms, I specifically took the time to do some research, and I know I had read it before, but I wanted everyone else to read it. And it's Senate Report 93-549, and it's talks about the emergency powers statutes and how in 1933 there were provisions of the federal law that went into effect specifically for national emergencies, which this would be considered a national emergency. And in that law that was enacted in 1933, American citizens then became and were treated as enemies of the state during a national
Mm.
emergency.
Yeah.
So if you want to see that, anyone who wants to take a look at that, it's on my Facebook, and you could go and take a look at it, or actually just go ahead and research Senate Report 93-549, Emergency Powers Statutes, and the paper will come up. I believe it's a little over 600 pages long. But essentially, it says that under these powers that have been delegated by these statutes, the president may seize property, organize and control the means of production, seize commodities, assign military forces abroad, institute martial law, seize and control all transportation and communication, regulate the operation of private enterprise, restrict travel, and in a plethora of particular ways, essentially control the lives of all American citizens. And so the president, and only the president, the executive branch, has the right and the power to exercise that authority under that Senate report.
So how do you feel about that?
Well, now I understand exactly why the president is doing what he's doing, because he's within his legal right to do it. And though people don't understand, he's doing it for a reason. And let's get real, this individual did not need to um he didn't need to be the president. I mean, he essentially made billions of dollars, billions, not millions, billions, with his real estate projects. And he had a couple of television shows. So he had fame all over the world. So he had fame and money. He had no reason to become president, but for some reason he felt it was his responsibility based on some of the things that he knows, which we, of course, do not know.
Yeah, I don't agree with everything you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I don't agree that he has absolute power. I don't agree with that.
I know that we don't agree, and I say we because I'm including myself in that. But according to the Senate report, he does. He does have the right to it's specifically for the executive branch, and that's it. So he's exercising it, and it's only happened 4 times within our history of within the history of the United States, and this is the 5th time. So it's not anything that I am saying, it's something that is a law. So sometimes people, shoot the messenger and, hey, I'm not saying anything that is not legal and true. I'm just simply sharing it. And
Yeah,
these are not my opinions.
okay. I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
I would be happy to read some of that, not all 600 pages, but I'm also looking at it from some other angles too, and
Of course.
I'm not quite at all agreeing with that. So I mean, I hear what you're saying. It's
Well,
it's part of the law. I hear that.
right.
I hear
Right.
that.
And I'm reading it and I'm not adding or subtracting anything to it. I'm literally reading it. So it has nothing to do with me personally. And I think that people get confused and start attacking each other, thinking that everyone knows exactly everything that's happening. And I'm not saying you, of course, but I'm saying people. I've seen it on the social media platforms where people are beginning to get real ugly. I know it's a challenging time, but everyone's challenged. And everyone thinks they know what's happening without reading exactly what's going on. And we don't have all the pieces of the puzzle. We just don't. And, from my perspective, I just follow my gut instinct and I follow my heart. And I've been like that from the inception. And there were many people who, as you know, Janet, I didn't trust for whatever reason. And, then the truth came to light. And this is just another example of that.
Well, yeah, true.
Yeah, it's just another example.
I wanna go back to something you said earlier, which I do agree with, that each of us has our own responsibility to do the best we can to find out the truth of what's happening. So I agree with that statement.
Yeah, because, unfortunately, people are making these rash judgments and decisions and, these judgments in general against each other, their fellow neighbors, based on lack of education, understanding, experience, and taking the time to really do the research and taking their power back. So, yeah, I'm really excited to be sharing some of this on this podcast because I'm hoping that if we can even wake up one person to really take their power back, then we've done our responsibility. We've done our job. So it's a very interesting time. So I only have a couple more, so I'm going to go ahead and read them. Actually, 4 more. So never let future generations forget what has happened here now so that it never happens again. Truth, truth, truth is a solution is another one. Stop acquiescing to false power and money and the illusion of it. And the very last one, lastly, we must never fall asleep again. Because
We can't even get our 8 hours in.
that's a good one, but you know what I mean. That was good. That was good. Yeah.
Okay.
And
So, did you want to do some meditating? Or,
yeah, let's
yeah?
do it. I'm
Okay.
excited. I think like a good 5 minutes of you leading us in a meditation would be great.
Okay, great. So, um, so I guess I'm speaking to you and whoever is listening to this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So, first of all, let's all find a comfortable place to sit, uh, a place where you can hold yourself up, if you're able, and instead of having the chair hold you up, just where you can sit nice and tall. And then just take a couple of deep breaths. Now, let yourself become aware of what you're sitting on, um, your sits bones that are at the bottom of your hips, and imagine that the earth is cradling your sits bones, and that you can just let them sink into the earth, that the earth is holding you, that you can relax into the earth. So take some more breaths. Breathe into your belly and down through your body into the earth, and let yourself relax. Let yourself become heavy. As you breathe into your stomach, let your stomach relax. Relax your legs and your feet. Let your body gently rise up from this firm base that you have. Relax your shoulders. Relax your jaw. Relax your eyes. They can be opened or closed. Now let yourself become a little bit more aware of your breath. Notice its gentleness and its airy quality. Just let your breath wash over your body. As you breathe in and out. However you're breathing is fine. There's no right or wrong way to do this. It's simply being gentle with yourself and allowing yourself to be. If you have some emotions, some feelings that you're aware of running through your body somewhere, just notice what kind of physical sensations there that are arising with those feelings. Just notice the physical part of it and be curious about it for a while. Notice the energy and the movement. You can give yourself some comfort and some healing as you sit and follow your breath. You could touch your heart if you'd like. Or give yourself a hug. Then as we end, let yourself become aware of your sense of touch. Whatever your hands are touching, just let that be the only thing, your touch. And let your sense of touch gently bring you into the present moment. See if you can carry that sense of gentleness with you.
Well, Janet, that was excellent. I feel
Good.
really relaxed, and I hope all the listeners are just as
Yeah,
relaxed.
me
That
too.
was so helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be lovely if we could all do this every morning and every night, and whenever we're feeling a little
Yes.
anxious. I think this
Yeah, just a
meditation is
little
great.
time is good.
Yeah, five to 10 minutes every day
Hmm.
would be great. Yeah, thank you
You're
so much
welcome.
for guiding us in that
Yeah.
meditation. Yes. I do have a question before we leave our listeners. You did mention something about meditation in regards to our eyes, and I think a lot of people are not aware of the open eye meditation. Can you take a little bit of time to go over that before
I'm
we leave our
sorry. Did you
listeners?
say about whether your eyes should be open or closed? Is that what you're asking?
Correct. Like the open eye meditation
Okay.
technique. There's some people that may not know that.
Yeah, well, it really, either way is good, and it's good to experiment and with what you need as you sit. But if you're meditating with your eyes open, uh, you can just relax your eyes, soften your gaze. Um, your gaze can be slightly down so that you can allow yourself to relax. There might be some times when you want your gaze to be forward. It might help you come to the present moment. And there might also be some times when it feels better for your eyes to be closed. So experiment with what you need.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for that. I really appreciate that. Yeah. So essentially, anyone can meditate with their eyes closed or open. And what I'm gathering from you, Janet, is that the open eye technique, you have to ensure that your eyes are relaxed and they're barely open, but they're still open, or you can gaze straight forward.
Right. Yes, you could. Yeah.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. Well, again, thank you, Janet, so much. And is there anything you want to leave our audience with?
Just a very open heart. What came to my mind is I love you.
Yes, and I love you as well. And when I say I love you, of course, I mean you, Janet, but also the entire world. Whoever's listening to this podcast, you are loved. Again, to all the listeners, thank you so much for your time. I send you so much love, so many blessings. Stay safe, stay healthy, and remember, united we stand. Thank you so much for listening. Stay safe, subscribe, and review. We will come at you with many more topics, and remember, united we stand.